Well, Full Send family, we are so excited to start a new series together. This series is going to be a little different. We're going to look at the books of 1st and 2nd Kings, and we're going to do that over a 9-week period. So we're going to break it up into a 4-week series and a 5-week series. And during this series, we're not going to go chapter by chapter, but instead, the first 4 weeks, we're going to look at the earthly kings and the earthly kingdoms and how we as humanity choose who we follow on this earth and how it does impact our lives. In the last 5 weeks, we are going to look about how God intimately comes into our lives on this earth and who God is in this kingdom. And so as we start today, we're going to be looking at a question that really prompts us to look at who are we following? Who is our king? Whose kingdom do we want to come? Our own or God's? And then in the following weeks, we're going to look at a group of people who chose their own kingdom and how people do that today. And then we'll look at a group of people who chose God's kingdom but still like the things of this world as well. And then we're going to look at 2 prophets who chose God to follow him faithfully, and how that's not always easy. But join me today in asking this question. If God came up to you and said, "I will give you whatever you want," what would you ask for? Well, maybe you're like me and would say, unlimited poppin' pizza. Right? Whatever would satisfy me in the moment. Maybe it's riches, maybe it's fame, maybe it's a long life, maybe it's a boat, a lake house. We're posed with this question: what do you want me to give you? And that leads us to look at this King Solomon. King Solomon was the king right after David and right after Saul. And so let's look at how Solomon engaged with this question when God asked him. We're going to be in 1 Kings 3. It says this in verse 5. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night. And God said, "Ask what I shall give you." And Solomon said, "You've shown great and steadfast love to your servant David, my father, because he walked before you in faithfulness and righteousness and in uprightness of heart toward you. And you have kept for him this great and steadfast love and have given him a son to sit on his throne this day. And now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of David my father. Although I am but a little child, I do not know how to go out or come in, and your servant is in the midst of your people whom you have chosen, a great people, too many to be numbered or counted for multitude. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, that I may discern between good and evil, for who is able to govern this your great people?" It pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this, and God said to him, "Because you have asked this, and have not asked for yourself long life or riches or the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right. Behold, I now do according to your word. Behold, I give you a wise and discerning mind, so that none like you has been before you, and none like you shall arise after you. I give you also what you have not asked, both riches and honor, so that no other king shall compare with you all your days. And if you will walk in my ways, keeping my statutes and my commandments, as your father David walked, then I will lengthen your days." And Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream. Then he came to Jerusalem and stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord and offered up burnt offerings and peace offerings and made a feast for all his servants. Solomon was asked by God, "What shall I give you?" And Solomon processed to get to his answer. And so I want to look at how Solomon processed this request. When he was asked by God, "What shall I give you?" First, Solomon said, "Well, God, I know that you have been faithful. God, I know that you have shown love. You have been patient with my father David. We know that David was not perfect, and neither are we. But God faithfully walked with him in patience and brought him to reconciliation. And Solomon saw this, how God walked with his father. So he first thought, oh, this is who God is. The second thing he said, and this is who my father David is. My father David walked before you, God, in faithfulness and righteousness and uprightness of heart toward you. He saw that his father lived in a way that was right, lived in a way that was honoring to God. It is said that David is the man after God's heart. And so Solomon saw who God was, saw the example of his father, and then he came to a conclusion. I think it's important for us to process the same way. We need to understand who God is, that he's faithful, that he is right. And we can learn from our elders, those who have gone before us, our parents, an older person in church. Learn from their wisdom and their experience of who God is and follow their example. And this is Solomon's response. He says, I am but a child. I don't know how to go out or come in, and your servant is in the midst of a lot of people. Solomon basically said, I'm young, I don't know everything, and I'm kind of overwhelmed. I need help. Now, people think that Solomon was probably in his upper teens, maybe lower 20s. And so he wasn't 7 years old, but he was young. And he realized that he didn't know as much about being a king or even leading people in a way that honored God as those who had gone before him. And so his request was, God, give me an understanding mind. I love this request. Give me an understanding mind so I may lead your people and help me to be able to discern between good and evil. I don't know where this verse has been my whole ministry career, but this should be something that is put on the hearts of all Christians to request this of God. Lord, give me an understanding mind to be able to discern good from evil so that I may lead your people, may lead others towards you. This is a pure heart. Something for us to realize. Now, after reading this and Solomon's response, I wonder if any of you are like me and wish you could go back and change your answer at the beginning. It's not about pizza. It's not about pop. It's not about money. It's not about things, as God said here. He's like, you could have asked for the things of this temporary world, but instead you asked for the things of God's kingdom and not the earthly kingdom. Same for us. He invites us to think bigger picture than just the right here, right now. That there is more than this life. And Solomon understood this. He wrote Ecclesiastes, and you can see that there's nothing under the sun that satisfied. The only thing that satisfies is God, is his conclusion. He had everything you could possibly want in this world, and none of it brought satisfaction. So this helps us answer the question, whose kingdom is coming into our lives? Is it the earthly kingdom and leadership of the earth that is leading our hearts and our minds? Or is our heart and our mind, are they led by the kingdom of God? Whose kingdom come in our life? So as we go out this week, Full Send family, I want to encourage us to be like Solomon and every day ask God to give us an understanding mind, to give us discernment of good and evil, so that we may lead in our churches, in our small groups, at our workplaces, at our schools, in a way that honors him and points people to him. Over this month, we are going to look at humanity's interaction with leadership and kings. And this gives us a good start to search our heart to say, whose king are we following? And may we be like Solomon and have a vision to follow the King of Kings. Full Send family, let us walk in wisdom this week.